Now, coming up in the next part of the programme, it's all about size. Should we have bigger garages because it's too difficult to park your 4x4 and get out of it in a garage? Or is that an anti-green message? And our huge TV screens with surround sound system. BBC Radio 2 playing Pink and Get the Party Started. It's Matthew Bannister with you this lunchtime on Radio 2, sitting in for Jeremy Vine. It's 9 minutes past 1. Good afternoon to you. Do you own a car that doesn't fit into your garage, forcing you to park on the street? If the answer is yes, you might want to consider moving to Essex, where the local council are proposing that all new houses should have bigger garages, larger driveways, more on-street bays, and at least 25 extra spaces for visitors per 100 homes. The council hopes this will reduce the number of vehicles cluttering the street, but critics say the plans are too car-centric and local authorities should be providing more incentives for public transport, not cars. So should councils be encouraging developers to build bigger garages to accommodate those people carriers and 4x4s? In an attempt to answer that question, we thought we'd conduct our own consultation. Let's kick off with John Jowers, Cabinet Member for Planning in Essex, and Rupert Read, Green MEP candidate for the East of England. John Jowers, why this change? Why does the council want to make the garages bigger and allow more parking spaces?
Well, it's a variety of reasons, Matthew, but I think one of the main ones is that, oddly enough, we've found some bus services have been withdrawn from streets because the buses can't get down them. We've had cars parked outside, and certainly places like Chelmsford and Colchester, certainly in one estate I was called into, the emergency services and the dust carts couldn't get down the streets. So on one way you could say that we're not encouraging more car use, we're accepting the reality of the fact that you can't tell people they can't own a car. And equally, cars have got bigger.
Presumably you're bowing to the inevitable, John, which is that, you know, people have bigger cars now, and it's quite often the case that with the old planning regulations, people can't open the door of their car when they get into the garage. Well,
there was that classic advert on the television where a chap bought a car and he drove it in and the back end stuck out 3 feet. You know, it's ludicrous, really. If you're going to provide a garage, then you should be able to fit a normal, standard, Mondio, modern car in it. Otherwise, they're going to leave it on the street, and that is worse than having it off the street.
OK, Rupert Read, what's wrong with that?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that as a car owner, I know what a good thing it can be to have a garage that actually works for you and can be used properly. And if it were to be shown that making this change would actually improve the lives of all of us, including car owners and anyone who wants to use a garage for the purpose which it was designed for, that is storing a car in, then I'd be potentially all in favour of it. But I think what we have to be very clear about here is what we're talking about is planning for the future. We're talking about the design of new estates. So it's no good really us looking at the problems of existing housing estates and housing developments and saying, oh dear, buses are getting stuck on some of these streets, therefore we should have larger garages in the new developments. Because if we're building new developments, what we have to do is we have to look 5, 10, 20, 40 years down the line and think about what actually makes sense for them, not dwell on the problems of the past 4 years.
But don't you want to cure the problems of the past when you design the new estates? So surely if the old estates are too crowded and the garages are too small, you want more parking spaces and bigger garages on the new estates.
But, Matthew, what you have to think about is what are going to be the problems of 5, 10, 20 years ahead, and what are housing estates actually going to look like, and what are people's habits going to be like. And I think it's absolutely clear that the age of big cars is on the wane. People already realise this, as shown, for example, by the decline in sales of 4x4s over the past couple of years. And if you're looking 20 years ahead, or indeed 40 years ahead, once these housing estates are built and up and running and well lived in, we're going to be talking about oil shortages. We really need to be planning much more carefully for the future, and what that means is we ought to be planning housing estates where we put the energy into public transport, into cycling, into, for example, designing housing estates where local shops and local services are well designed in, thus reducing the need to travel.
OK, John Jowers, is it true that you're being perhaps a bit short-sighted? You're not looking at the future where there might be energy crisis and people might drive much smaller cars or take a bike or go on public transport?
No, I don't think so, Matthew. In fact, what we're finding is one of our major problems is that people are getting the message. They're using public transport. They're leaving their car outside their house, and thereby lies the problem. I mean, I think Rupert's absolutely right that we should be designing in issues. What he hasn't mentioned is that we are also requiring a covered bicycle space in each new house, which is unique. No one else does that. We are actually looking forward, but not only that, we're trying to be pragmatic about what real people in the real world really want.
Okay.
It's not single issue one way or another.
All right, John, thanks for coming on. John Jowers, Cabinet Member for Planning in Essex, and Rupert Read, Green MEP candidate for the East of England. A couple of other people to consult now.